Jordon, you've got to tell me about yourself.
Well, Rita, first of all, let me thank you for inviting me back, and I enjoy being here with you. As I told you before and privately, the way I involve myself in this is it comes by me naturally, because when I was growing up as a little kid, my mother had an uncle who worked in the Vatican, Secretary of State's office. And about every 3 or 4 years, he'd come back to the country to visit the family. And as a little kid, I would sit and listen to this brilliant gentleman talking about international intrigue, politics of the highest levels. And he was quite knowledgeable working in the Vatican Secretary of State's office. And the things he would talk about, the secret societies, the money that was made throughout the world internationally, the politics, and generally the entire world scheme of things, how politics and religion work together behind the scenes. So I grew up hearing this kind of conversation, and my grandfather was a senator, my great-grandfather was a congressman. I have 2 living uncles today who are federal judges. So I grew up around hearing this type of conversation in the family about intrigue and politics and the behind-the-scenes stuff going on in world religion. At the ripe old age of 17, I decided that I wanted to find out if there was a bottom to this issue. And I began my research and study into theology and all of the arcane or occult theologies of the world. I was fascinated by some of the most powerful movements in the world. And I have come to the conclusion that there has never been on this earth a political movement that wasn't a little religious. And there's never been a religious movement in the history of the world that wasn't a little political. But the problem you run into with theology, and when you get into religion and theology, is that there are 2 kinds of facts that we have in theology. The kind you look up and the kind you make up. And so much of what we have been told and left to believe is true in theology and religion, especially in the Western world, is nothing more, in my opinion, than political propaganda. And I think this can be proven. But over and above the political aspect of Western religion, I am also fascinated, as this book brings out, it's just analogy on religion. Generally, things which most people don't know about theology and religion that the church would rather you not. I get into in particular the connect between astrotheology, which is the world's oldest religion. We can go to 5,000 to 7,000 years before Christ, and the worship of the heavens, what dominated the ancient world. As I said, I don't believe that there are too many people today in the Western civilization who have really looked at where religion came from, where our ideas and concepts have come from. Now, we don't mind, we are all aware of how other people can be wrong in what they believe, because other people, we have a theology, and other people have a mythology. Other people are wrong because they don't share your concepts and your belief, and that's because they don't understand. They're wrong, but they don't understand. I am saying that we can all be wrong. There's not one human creature on the earth that is so well informed that they cannot possibly be wrong on something. All I'm asking my audience to do is to look at the facts of where Western religion has come from and look at behind the scenes the connections between government and religion. Let me give you an example.
Okay, but all right.
Well, let me give you a quick example of just the point I made between tying government in with religion. When you go into most churches today, you will see the altar is 3 tiers high. It's 3 degrees high. It has, in most churches, they will have a fence with the gate, and only the priest can go through the gate or through the fence up until the altar. When the priest, the clergy comes out, he's dressed in a long robe. Everyone stands out of respect. It's the same thing in any courtroom. You have the people of the congregation out here. You have the fence with the gate, and only the attorneys can go through and speak for you. And the bench is 3 tiers high. The 3 tiers high in the church and courtroom stand for the first 3 degrees of Freemasonry. When the judge comes out, he's dressed in the long black robe, just as the priest is dressed in a long black robe, just as you will be dressed in a long robe when you graduate from university or college. The connections are continual. The judge can sit and look down on you, for he represents the law, spelled L-A-W. You need to look at where the word law comes from. And then, of course, the priest can look down on the audience and the people in the church. He represents God, which is the law.
So you're saying that people should start looking at things with a different eye.
Yes.
Than what they, in other words, people just take it for granted. This has always been, and this is the way it is.
Absolutely.
But there is an origin for every one of these things.
Gerald Massey, one of the greatest Egyptologists that ever lived, wrote that they will find it difficult, those who have accepted the authority as truth, rather than the truth as authority. And so I'm saying that that's what's happened to us as a civilization in the West. I'm not interested that much in the East tonight. I'm more interested in our Western way of life and the religion, the philosophies that guide our lives. The mere fact that in this country, in America, when you run afoul of the law, they say you have broke the law, just as Moses broke the law. And of course, the sheriff has a 6-pointed badge as the Star of David, or the 6-pointed hexagram. All of our judicial proceedings in court are based on the old common law of England, or Britannia. And incidentally, Britain is Britain, or British. And Brit in Hebrew is a contract or a covenant. And the word ish means man or men. Therefore, the word British is the covenant men, or men of the covenant.
Okay.
It's a fascinating story when we understand that our government is based on religion, and we didn't even know it. And I'm saying, wake up, do your homework.
Okay. You have such a vast amount of information that I have to try and hold you back a minute, because I want to get into more things.
Okay.
I want to say some things here.
Okay.
For one thing, first, let me say this. How would you classify yourself? I mean, are you religious, or are you spiritual? Are you what somebody would say agnostic? I mean, what are you?
I'm a common man, an ordinary man, in the pursuit of an extraordinary subject. I consider myself to be one who appreciates and will fight for truth.
You are a truth seeker.
I think that's probably the best way to term it. I am an extremely spiritual person, in that I hold very, very high spiritual morals, ethics. I believe in a very powerful spiritual force that dominates and overshadows the world. Christians call it God. Others may call